ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So, we were studying in the last class from the 4th to the 6th verse of the 10th chapter of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. And where we find that it was described, Sri Krishna was describing that He as the God, is the source of all the human qualities, the positive as well as the negative, all the human qualities. He is the source of all the positive as well as the negative qualities. And we were describing that's a unique feature of our Vedanta that we find in all the dualistic religion. The good and the evil are separated as if they are two totally different existence, the good and the evil. We will find its representation in all the Abrahamic religion as the God and the Satan, that all the good aspects of our personality, the source is the God, and there's an eternal fight going on. Inside the Satan is also there. He represents all the bad qualities. As if God and the Satan is coexisting. But in Vedanta, they say no. The source of all our faculties is God and God alone. There is no as such division of good and bad. Good also, the good is all, the source of good is God, the source of the evil is also God. What is the explanation there? They say that the core of our being is divine. The ultimate core of our being is divine. When that divinity doesn't get the proper environment to manifest, then it manifests as evil. An example which we were giving in the last class, that suppose a seed, a small banyan seed, it has the potentiality to become a huge banyan tree. But suppose it has fallen on some dry, arid land. What will happen? It will get dried out. It cannot grow into that huge banyan tree. Or it has fallen in some extremely marshy, wet, damp soil. Then what happens? Because of excess of water, the seed may get rotten. So now the rotten seed, the dry seed, is not is existence. It doesn't speak of the existence of evil as a separate entity. What it speaks of? That the potentiality of that small seed to become a huge banyan tree that couldn't be manifested because of the lack of proper environment. So that way, we never identify anyone as that he is governed by the Satan. So he has to be totally kept in this jail throughout his life, and he is in the core having these criminal tendencies. There is no way for reformation for him. The only thing which we can bestow upon his is indifference, hatred. But in Vedanta, the idea is no. Potentially everyone is that pure, divine. Most probably he is not in the proper circumstances to manifest that. So change that circumstances and you will find that the divine quality is manifesting. So that's a wonderful idea. Even the Bhagavad Gita at the very beginning starts with that idea. That, O Arjuna, Klaivyam masma gamah partha nai tatyayupa padyate kshudram hridaya daurvalyam tyakta tishta uttishta parantapa. We almost start in the second chapter, the very beginning. We find God is arousing Arjuna from the slumber, from the despair, by saying this verse. What this verse speaks? Klaivyam masma gamah partha Naitatyupapadyate. Naitatyupapadyate means it doesn't befit you. In potentially, you have the power to manifest the divinity by becoming the instrument of the divine who is sitting here in front of you as your Sarathi. You are just his instrument. In the Bhagavad Gita, he will say, Nimitta matra bhava sabhya sachin. Become just a nimitta, an instrument in my hand. Because of this despair, ignorance, you are not aware. You are not trying to channelize the divinity through you. But you have the potentiality. That's why it doesn't befit you. He's not saying that you're useless. He's saying that this doesn't befit you. Potentially you are great. So these ideas speaks a lot. It's not simple. That when the parent is scolding the child, if he says you are an idiot, that's a false. In our scriptures they say, Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat. Speak the truth and the truth should be pleasant. But we may say, no, I am a straightforward person. If I have to speak the unpleasant truth, I should speak. But in Vedanta they are saying, Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat. You have to speak the truth in such a way that it is pleasant. Why? Because the unpleasant truth is never a truth. When you say your child that you are an idiot, as if through eternity he is going to be idiot, is that what defines him? He was idiot, he is idiot, he will be idiot. Instead of that, if I would have said, oh, I have such a great expectation from you. How I never expected that you will be doing such a silly act. A particular act doesn't define the child. His past, his present, his future. He is potentially having that strength to manifest the tremendous divinity which is within. Yes, I never expected that he will act so silly at these particular circumstances. So just see, when this idea that the good and the evil, everything originates from the divine, it actually speaks of reformation. There is no question of punishment. There is a question of reformation. So now we will find that there is no such disparity in this idea. What a wonderful idea God has spoken of from this 4th to the 6th verse. It is the source of all, the good and the evil. It is we who are manifesting, we are not manifesting that eternal goodness because of the lack of proper environment, proper way of training, proper way of nurturing. It's not there. That's why it is finding expression as evil. There's a God, good itself is manifesting as evil. So it speaks of reformation. If you change, you can reform yourself. So that was spoken of, that God is the source of all human qualities and He is the supreme being, not only the human qualities. That in Vedanta, another wonderful idea is there, that microcosm and the macrocosm is built in the same plan. Jaha ache bhande, in the words of Ramakrishna, taha ache brahmande. What it means? If you know the nature of a single sand particle to its entirety, you will know the nature of the entire universe. To give an example, just take a small atom. The electrons are, that's what we have studied in the basic science. The nucleus is there and these electrons are moving around this nucleus. This is a basic, very basic structure. It's not perfectly correct, but that's the idea which we get from our basic science. Look at the universe. The sun is there, the planets are moving. Not only here, in any galaxy you go. The stars are there with its planets. And again, the planet is there with its satellites. Like the moon. So you'll find that the same thing, this entire universe they call is holographic. The same principles follow everywhere. Jaha che bhande, taha che brahmande. As in the words of Sri Ramakrishna, that when the mother in the house is cooking the rice, how she knows that the rice has been cooked? She takes up just one rice and presses it between her fingers. If she finds it is sufficiently soft enough, she knows all the rice has been cooked. So that's the way Sri Ramakrishna is expressing that what is in the microcosm is in the macrocosm. It's all built in the same plan. So I can first observe within myself and find out my faculties. And I find yes, good and evil do exist. And now the Lord is saying the entire existence is nothing but me and me alone. And there too I see all the good and the bad things. In the same way, I have to then retrace back the idea. The way I don't hate myself because of my evil qualities. I pamper myself just that's quiet that I will find that I am sometimes, of course I do self-criticism. But the way I criticize others, I never do that for me. So here, by first God pointing out that all the good and evil originates from me, is now pointing to the entire universe. Everything came out from the consciousness which has found expression as the mind, and the mind itself again has projected this universe. So whatever you see, good and bad, is the projection from me and me alone. I am the supreme reality. So after saying that, this is a fact. Now how to relate to that fact? There's a fact, we have to relate to that fact. So that relation to the fact is being spoken of from the 7th to the 9th verse. What it will say? It will state that this awareness of the divine as the source of all human qualities, as the cause of the entire existence, this should lead to unwavering devotion. If I see the Lord behind the entire existence, then the devotion no more remains restricted only in your altar. That I am a devotee when I am sitting in front of my God, the concept of the divinity, as I have placed him in the altar. And when I move out, it's no more God. This segregation, this watertight compartment creates all the evil, creates all the holier than thou attitude. My God is just limited in my concept. Beyond that God I don't see. So once I see God in the entire existence, then the devotion, my attitude becomes prayerful. I relate to the world through respect. The good is also evil, the evil, bad is also, the good is also God, the evil is also God. This attitude immediately may make us feel that I am being deceived, I am being wronged in the world, but we forget one thing. These are all external appearances of getting deceived and of getting wrong. What people don't see? The resilience which I am building. And that resilience is not just mere worldly resilience, it is a spiritual resilience. If we really believe that this life is just a passing phase, it's just a journey, my soul is eternal, and to remain established in that eternal self is the be-all and end-all of all my endeavor, of all my existence, then I will find I have developed a resilience. The world sees I as a defeat, me as a defeat, as a loser, as a fool who unnecessarily was having faith in others. But I forget subjectively he's developing that resilience, that I won't react to the situations of life. Whatever may be. It's very high ideal. That's why Swami Vivekananda, when he starts Karma Yoga, there he says a very interesting thing. That we see that all the religions speaks of non-violence. But non-violence is the ideal only for the highest when we are established. Before that, we cannot practice. It's true. But let us keep it in our mind. That is the ideal. Because when we keep it in our mind, that itself makes a lot of difference. How? Because you have something to guide you. Just they say that when the ship is sailing on the ocean, it keeps its direction fixed by seeing the pole star. It cannot reach the pole star. But by keeping it in its awareness, it can maintain the direction in life. So yes, most probably we have to hiss now and then. Whether we need not bite and just throw the poison, inflict poison. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that's the ideal. That at last I have to see the divine in each and every being. Swami Vivekananda says there are two types of braveness. He says to stand in front of the cannon is one type of braveness. That is the world understands. And then he says there's another type of braveness. Courage. What's that? He says that a sadhu was constantly chanting, Soham, Soham, I am that ultimate reality. The villagers could hear that deep in the forest, on the other side of the river, this monk constantly goes on chanting, Soham, Soham. And one day, a tiger pounced on him and dragged him into the deep forest. And the villagers could hear that chanting is fading because he is going far away. But till his last breath, the chanting never stopped. Soham, Soham. There is no such resistance, external resistance. But that inner conviction is so strong that speaks of the spiritual perfection which he has attained. And that's a different type of courage. These are the two. If you read the lecture, the Swami Vivekananda is nothing but Sri Ramakrishna's commentary, nothing else. If you read the Ramayana, an epic, on this Swami Vivekananda has delivered a wonderful lecture. The last paragraph is very interesting. There he's saying, he's making the difference between the Orient and the Occident, the Eastern and the Western culture, the Indian culture and the Western culture. And he says that our ideal is the Sita, all suffering. She has transcended suffering by just enduring it. She has transcended that. And then he's comparing. In the West believes in doing. There is a situation, I have to act on it. And we believe in that patience, that suffering through which at last we become so resilient that the suffering becomes something negligible. And then he is putting a question. These are the two ideals. The world is yet to see which is the ideal going to take us to that. Our destiny, our goal, our ideals, our ideal, the thing which will give us integrity. He's throwing that. Why we are saying this? You'll find throughout the history, because of this, our capacity to endure, not to react, but to endure, we have been again and again, the Indians have been again and again persecuted for thousands of years. But the force with which they have came back, that surprised the world throughout the history, you'll find. Just that one, I was reading a very wonderful example. That, in the Europe there is this concept of welfare state. That the state is there to take care of you. Now everything, that's Guru Maharaj used to say, the world is a dog's curly tail. It appears to be a very good idea, but what happens? The citizens becomes very lazy. That European Union, for the European Union, the Germany was providing the money, and then this thought of stopping it. Why? That our money is not for just paying for those lazy people just having sunbath in the beach of Greece or Italy. Just, I get the money. I don't work, I get the money. And when at last the country's economy starts falling and the government has to take some measures some restrictions, some that you cannot get, you won't get the, these increments. All the parks, that has to be, you have to renounce. And there's a huge agitation. In that country, we find there's a riot agitation. And now, someone compared this situation with the Indians who were in the Uganda. And you know the dictator Idi Amin. Just he gave 48 hours time that all the Indians has to vacate this country. And just think, they were all the prosperous businessmen, mainly the Patels of the Gujarat. And they had to evacuate the country in 48 hours, and then this UK declared, okay, it's we who will give the refuge. And they had to leave the current country without their all this wealth and everything as a refugee to UK. And in 2 or 3 decades, the highest number of millionaires are from that group. What it speaks of. That the capacity to come back is a tremendous resilience. Tremendous resilience. Whatever may happen. When the government takes some renunciation measures, we find in the entire Europe, there is a tremendous unrest. But when in an integrated family, the mother takes the renunciation measures, she is very strong. All agrees to it. Behind that, they know that there's a love is there, concern is there. And they're all integrated, fight back. And in small time, there again you find they have established themselves. So this strength finds expression not immediately. This resilience speaks of a long-term measure, that nothing can annihilate us. That strong conviction is there. So when you have that conviction, everything is divine, nothing is evil as a separate existence, hatred has fallen off. And you have the capacity to again come back with all the good qualities, trying to have this good, in spite of all the wrong which has been done to me, I never become that same person. In the present day, there is a huge, the debate is going on. That whether Hindutva is in confrontation with Hinduism. The Hindutva concept you will find is taking the Hinduism down to that idea of that I am holier than that I belong to a particular denomination. The entire other world is not that denomination. And the same idea of the hatred, everything, gets a scope to enter there unless we are very much aware that what spiritual resilience means. At last, as in the Bible it has been said, that if you kill by sword, you have to die by the sword. So at last you will find no one is the winner. We all are the losers. Unless that we give importance to that reverence which comes from the idea that it is the divine who has become everything. He's finding expression as the good and the bad. Just the way when the small child is restless, behaving badly, the parent is so patient. It's my child. In Bhagavatam, there's a very nice idea. When taking food, if your tongue gets bitten by your teeth, whom do you blame? Because it's the same. It's a you. For to you belong the tongue, to you belong the teeth. So when this idea of this identity comes, the hatred, what I will do? I have not to blame anyone. Only thing I will do, the next time I will be conscious. That's how we learn. That while taking food, I have to be conscious. I have to be very much aware. I have to be mindful. There is no question of blaming. It's a question of reformation. And that's why you will find this Vibhuti Yoga. It appears that God is just saying, I am here, I am there. What actually it means for me in my spiritual life, it means an immense transformation in our attitude. It gives the real resilience. And with this, now let's proceed to this. This the 7th verse of the 10th chapter. Etang vibhuting yogam cha mama yo vetti tattvata sa avikampena yogena yujyate natra samshayah. Etang vibhuting yogam. Those who know in truth my glories and divine powers. yogam vibhuting yogam cha yo vetti tattvata. This vibhuti, all these manifestations, my glories, and the divine powers, those who know in essence, they what happens? They become united with me. Yogena yujyate. To yujyate means, from the yud dhatu came the word yoga. They become united. Is yoga means to be united. Yujyate is a verb of that. They get united with me. Avikampena, through unwavering devotion. That's important. That when the world is as if deceiving me, doing wrong to me, then my devotion falters. That's what happened. Oh God, what have you done to me? No. Unwavering devotion. That comes when you know God is there. Whatever is happening, it's the God who, He is the Karta, who is the doer. He is doing everything. And then the question of real surrender comes. As our Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivananda, he had a pet dog, and it used to lie on the door. And when someone is to come, Mahapurush Maharaj has his own casual way of instructing. He will point to the photo of Sri Ramakrishna on the wall, and he will say, first he will say, of course, yeah, this is my dog, pointing to the dog. And then he will say, this one is that's dog, his dog. So what's the idea that his dog? That if you are, that very loving to your dog, the dog of course relishes that, enjoys that. But if you are kicking it, you will find it will never go. It so happened, that Swamiji had one dog and it started defiling other places. And one day they planned, because it's after all a monastery with temple and all, the dog was just defiling the places. So one day they thought, let us just take it across the Ganges and just leave it somewhere else. And after 1 month it came back. Somehow managed to get up on the boat and it came back. It will never, however you may behave badly with it, again it comes back. So that's the thing, that whether I get the good treatment or not, I am just his dog. I am going to lie on his door. Guru ke dwar mein kutte ke mafik pare raho. That's a very common term if you go to the Hindi belt. In the door of the Guru, just lie like a dog. However he treats, whatever way he treats me, I am not going to leave it. That speaks of avikampena, unwavering devotion. Of this, there is no doubt. There is natra samshaya. So this devotion is not easy. It speaks of tremendous strength. And that's the thing which Bhagavan is speaking here. That once you have this idea, is the divine, all the things which are happening, good, bad in your life, it is the divine who has ordained that. Then that unwavering devotion comes. This devotion is something like, to give an example, just I see a piece of stone. Let's say that you go to Kamarpukur, and you will find along with the temple of Sri Ramakrishna, there is a small temple where the priest are the descendants of Ramakrishna's family. They still do the puja there. Ramakrishna's elder brother's son, their son, like that, because Ramakrishna had no children of his own. So his lineage means his elder brother's son, like that, they're still continuing. And now, for anyone who is a novice in this religion, knows nothing, he goes there and finds a piece of stone there, kept in the altar. And just naturally, just as we find the others who don't understand our religion, will say, oh, they're worshipping the stone. And then you explain the idea of spirituality, that how that stone actually is signifying the divine. It is just the pratika. It's just the pratika. It's the image through which you are thinking of, you're meditating on the divine. And then you find the idea of reverence come. And not only that, then again I say, it's not only Sri Ramakrishna as a child, he was worshipped it. his entire family has worshipped it and still it's worshipping. Now your association with Sri Ramakrishna makes you feel that stone to be a living presence. Just as an ordinary stone with this idea that it is the representation of the divine, and not only that. So all these great sages whose life was transformed, that whose life expressed that unbound love for all, the constant awareness of the presence of the divine, that such an exalted life, they have worshipped. It got associated with that. Now you will find that your casual way of looking at it now has converted into reverence, isn't it? And that's the thing which is being spoken of here. When you look at this world and you see everything as the Shaligram. Sri Ramakrishna also says that one day in meditation he saw the entire world as the Shaligram. What's it actually representing? That when you are worshipping that Shaligram, gradually when you evolve spiritually, previously you were seeing the divine only in the Shaligram. Now this Shaligram becomes the image for the entire existence. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying that I saw the entire existence as the Shaligram. This simple stray remarks speaks of seeing the divinity everywhere. It's not something mere words. It really happens. When the character is transformed, when it leads to some spiritual realization, then the way I am seeing the world, he doesn't see the world anymore. That such a person doesn't see the world anymore. It's very difficult for me to relate to his realization. I think it's mere word, but it is not mere word. He is speaking from his realization. As I don't have the same fund of realization, I think it's a mere word. In this world, language has no meaning unless we have same common experience. Our language, what it does, it encodes the experience in the form of language, which can be decoded by a person who has the same experience. Otherwise, language has no meaning. Just simple example. I have tasted the mango, and I go and try to explain it to a person who have not tasted the mango. Oh, it's so sweet, it has a nice flavor. With all these words, does it make any sense really? He may think I have understood, but have he understood really? The day he have the mango, he will realize, oh, all the ideas which I have formed means nothing. So only that the one who have tasted mango, when he says to a person who have tasted mango, it's sweet, it has a nice flavor, he can relate. So our language is it helps to relate. I mean, we can relate only with the one who has the same fund of experiences. Just like explaining the taste of ghee. Can you explain the taste of ghee to a person who have not tasted? In the words of Ramakrishna, Kamon ghee na jamon ghee. The one you have tasted, he only knows. Otherwise you cannot explain. So these words sometimes feels like that's mere word, poetic words. No. It's all been spoken by the rishis. Who are the rishis? They are the mantra drashta. These words are very important. Who have seen the mantra. For us, mantra is mere word. For him, they have realized, seen, drashta. Once you see, then that words comes from your realization. And accordingly, your life also transforms. So it is all coming from the mouth of God, from Sri Krishna. And that's what he's saying. That when you have really realized sin, known that the world is nothing but the manifestation of the divine, then you develop that unwavering devotion. And nothing can. That unwavering devotion, you know that Sri Swami Vivekananda used to relate this story even to the West, in the West, of Pawari Baba. He never mentioned the name, but it's actually, because for them, the main name Pawari Baba has no meaning. And a saint, unknown saint, just by saying that Pawari Baba, what will it mean? So he used to just say that a saint. What's that? That he is a realized person, and one day a dog came and he has baked, this sadhu has baked some alms, he got some roti. So that roti was for him to have his food. And suddenly somehow a dog sneaked in and took that roti. And this sadhu was running after the dog, just saying, wait, let me apply some butter to it. Thora makhan laga de. Sukha roti hai. So this is the idea. When a thief came to steal his things, and he woke up, and he already bundled up the things, and seeing that this monk has woke up, out of fear he ran, and the sadhu with the bundle ran after him. Most probably have forgotten to give it to him, and that person, that thief, became a sadhu. Swami Vivekananda, when he came back, he was amazed to know actually that the thief, he couldn't believe that it can happen, that he was going to steal, and to say this person is taking the bundle and running after him to say that Tumhara hai, this is yours, you have forgotten. So this is the thing which speaks of the total transformation. And then what happens? Then your faith becomes totally unwavering. You see the divine everywhere. So there is no question of hatred. You relate to others not only through compassion, it's actually through devotion. You see the God in each and every being and relate it through the devotion. And that's the avikampena, unwavering devotion, which has been spoken of in this verse. And then the 8th verse, what is the same idea we'll find is spoken of in the 8th and the 9th verse. What is saying? Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarva pravartate. That I am the origin of all creation. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Everything proceeds from me. Matta sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajante maam buddha bhava samanvita. The wise who know this, Buddha, the wise who knows this, perfectly worship me. That's the perfect worship. Bhava samanvita, with great faith and devotion. All the worships which we do are yet to, they are all okay, but they are yet to reach that perfection. The perfection comes only when that you have known that from the Lord everything has emanated. That's why Mahatma Gandhi used to say that the first verse of the Isha Upanishad is sufficient to explain the entire of this Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma. What is that? Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. That pervade the entire existence by the divine and divine alone. Even in Durga Puja, these rituals we don't understand. Sometimes we feel this elaborate ritual, what it's meant for. That there is every day for the Saptami, Ashtami, Navami, all the 3 days, there is a Mahasnana of the Devi Durga. And there are some 64 items with which that snana has to be done. It goes on. It takes quite a long time. And what all things are there? The waters of the 7 rivers, of the 7 oceans, and then in the forest somewhere, the boar has dug the soil with its horn. And you have to take that soil which has been dug by that boar. What all actually speaks of? This all speaks of again the same thing, deification. So when after the worship you move out in the world, whatever you see the divine everywhere. Not only in the good thing, even in the bad thing. The soil, that one of the ingredient is the soil from the courtyard where the prostitutes stay. The lady of the ill repute, they stay. You have to collect that soil too. With that also mother's worship is done. Why? The same thing. If you have done the worship correctly, really knowing that these are all the things with which the divine is associated. Now when you move out, the hatred has fallen off you. Sri Ramakrishna, when he used to pass through the streets of Calcutta, seeing such lady of ill repute, she will see the divine mother in them. She will just bow down to them. When Mathur tried to lure Ramakrishna, brought one prostitute at her room, Sri Ramakrishna's way of relating to her was worship, nothing else. And that lady was amazed. She for the first time saw someone revering her as the divine itself. So this is the thing, the total transformation happens. And that's why these all rituals also has a tremendous meaning. That ideal to practice it, to practicalize it in life, these rituals are there. Without knowing the meaning behind the rituals, if you do it mechanically, it has no use. If you know, it has a profound effect. That's what's the philosophy behind it. Atmavat Deva Sevanam. Whatever you like, whatever you are associated with, use all of them for the worship of the divine. Then what happens? Then they start getting associated with the divine, and your attitude to all those things starts changing. As I this example which I give so many times, that a brahmachari, after joining our Ramakrishna order in one of the center, he was asked to do puja. And he every day used to use in the puja this, we have to use gandha, perfume. And he one day came and complained, these are all distractions. Why not just do the puja with simple rituals and give more importance to the meditation and all? He was giving his own lecture. And then the senior Swamis just felt not like explaining the things. He said, these are the things which you have to do. So, well, we have not welcomed you here. You, because of your own accord, thought of joining, because you thought this is the way of life which will be suiting you, is up to your temperament. If you find that these all things are meaningless, the gate is open. We have never closed it. You can still move. That was his answer. It was a very harsh answer for him. That I have asked some question, he could have tried to explain, but the senior sadhu most probably Swami felt, that he will learn by the course of his life, his passage. It took few months. He is relating a very interesting thing, that to buy the groceries associated with the worship, like fruits and other things, one day he had to go for the shopping. And he was passing through the busy street, noisy street, and perchance he came to pass by a perfume shop. He said, the same perfume which I thought is a distraction, which used to make me think of social events before joining, which I had to attend. There I found this all people using this perfume, that smell, that speaks of that distraction, socializing, another thing. Now in few months I'm doing the worship, I'm using this perfume to offer it to the divine, and now I am in this noisy place, in the marketplace. It's dirty everywhere. It is all filth, noise, busy. And now when I'm passing by that perfume shop, suddenly I find my mind becomes calm. It has now got associated, this perfume has got associated with the divine. Suddenly I start feeling that it's giving me the same feeling that when I am in the shrine, in the Garbhagriha, sitting there doing the worship, the feeling which I have, the same feeling I have started feeling then in that busy place, in that noisy place. So this is a wonderful idea. That's how you permeate. These all rituals actually have this very, very strong purpose. They have been devised that way. And that's how it helps us. And that's what is being indicated here. Aham sarvas. If this is the idea that from me the entire world has been projected, then iti matva bhajante ma. Knowing this to be the reality, the one who is doing bhajana, is worshipping me day in and day out, throughout his day. Buddha bhava samanvita, with great devotion. It is bound to follow that. That is the thing which is bound, that you are no more going to relate to the world as a secular. As Swamiji used to say, nothing is secular. Everything is spiritual. There is no such watertight compartment between the secular and the spiritual. Once we are aware of the spirituality in its true sense. So this bhava samanvita speaks of that with faith and devotion, it's no more a mechanical thing. With all your practices that you are worshipping with faith and devotion, by being aware of the divine at each and every moment of your life, at each and every aspect of it. So that's the thing this is spoken of in this 8th verse. And then what is in the next verse, what it is being speaking of, this 9th verse, the same idea. Now how it finds this devotion, how it finds expression. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parashparam kathayantascha mang nityam tushyanticha ramanticha. So here that Sri Ramakrishna used to say that when a hemp smoker meets another hemp smoker, so they get elated. They will go and hug each other. The hemp smoker is very much gets bored with the so-called civilized world. He finds, I cannot relate. This so-called Babu sitting, no, I want the same type of person with whom I can relate. He will run and hug him because their experience they can relate. And that's the thing, that you start with the devotion in your life. This speaks of reformation from bottom to top. That if you all try to practice this way, then what happens? We all will be relating to each other with our experience of the divinity everywhere. And that's been spoken of in this verse. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parashparam. So now from the bottom, from the bottom we have started that reformations, not from the top. That we have to behave in certain way, we have to follow the laws. No, nothing like that. From the bottom the reformation has happened. You, me, everyone has transformed. So now the question of relating to each other with our joy within, that becomes the state of our existence. There's bodhayanta parashparam. So when their minds fixed on me and their lives surrendered to me, this macchitta madgata prana, when you become macchitta, that your thought, your chitta always dwells in the Lord. Madgata prana, almost the same meaning. This your prana, chitta speaks of the mind, prana speaks of the vitality. Madgata prana. So if your mind is always dwelling in the Lord, then all your actions, which speaks of the energy, the thought finding expression as the energy, that all energy will be finding manifestation through something which speaks of the divine. And what that energy is finding expression as? Bodhayanta parashparam. That I am spending my time in relating the divinity with all. Bodhayanta parashparam. It no more remains a secluded practices within me. The chitta leading to prana, the energy. That energy is finding expression as the form of action. What's the action? We are all relating to each other with our own divine experiences. And then what happens? Kathayantascha mang nityam. This then starts speaking of me. My kirtana, kathayantascha mang nityam, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Because that's the thing which gives them tushyanti, fulfillment. The hemp smoker meets a hemp smoker. What they will speak of? They speak of the addiction, nothing else. So here also, when Girish Chandra Ghosh for the first time came to Ramakrishna, it's very interesting how God brings you. He was actually going to some place of ill repute. And by passing by that Dakshineshwar, suddenly what happened? He thought, I have heard that there's this Paramahansa stayed here, and I have seen him also once because he came to the theatre. And suddenly changed his mind. Let me go and meet him. Suddenly changed. There was no plan. So he got down from this chariot, this horse carriage, and came to Sri Ramakrishna. He was already reeling because already he was drunk. Seeing him, the thing which Ramakrishna told his nephew. So just see, he's drunk. So he has just came and sitting here. After some time he will need that another peg. But he has forgotten to bring the bottle. It's in the carriage. Please bring and keep it by his side. So that's the first thing. This Girish was surprised because he have never got this type of treatment from anyone. And then this Girish, by the way, that Sri Ramakrishna says, that as he was drunk, he says that I have a wine. It's very costly. And that you take, it's nothing. It's a very costly one. And Girish takes it literally at the beginning. He thinks most probably because he saw Sri Ramakrishna walking down the road reeling. And he thought he is my category person. This is the same person. He saw him. And he's thinking, he is also the same. It took much time for him to realize what wine he was speaking of. So that's the thing. When you relate, you can relate only with your experiences. When you are all in the same state of your existence, then what happens? Then you can relate out. That's what is spoken of. Kathayantascha. You speak out your experience. That's the kirtana. And then tushyanti, because you find happiness in it. Ramanticha. Tushyanti means these words sometimes you may feel is repetition, not repetition. Tushyanti is something subjective. I have a dish and I'm relishing it. When I'm relishing it, you cannot relish, isn't it? That is something very personal. So Tushyanti speaks of something very subjective. Ramanti speaks of where that same happiness is related. That I am also having that happiness, you are also having that happiness. So that is the Ramana. So here, when we two, our persons are there who have experienced the divine in the core of our being and have seen the divinity everywhere, when we relate, that is Ramana now. Because it is something relating to each other. It's not something subjective. So that's why Tushyanti cha, Ramanti cha. So what happened with their minds fixed on me, their lives surrendered to me, my devotees remain ever content in me. Samachitta madgata prana. They derive great satisfaction and bliss in enlightening one another about me and in conversing about my glories. So this doesn't speak of only in the religious congregation where we are having this kirtana. It speaks now of all your interaction, wherever you are interacting, whatever, even in your office, in your day-to-day life, wherever you are conversing. If all of us become enlightened, our conversation will be kirtana in what way? It's not that I am speaking of the Lord always. Whatever I am speaking, I know I am speaking to the Lord. He also knows I am speaking to the Lord. So this all becomes like kirtana. Because you all will be relating with the divine qualities which exists in all of us. And that's the kirtana, that in real sense, that whatever conversation we may have, if we have with that idea, with that awareness, that it is the divine in me who is relating to the divine in the other person, in another form. The divine is manifesting in so many forms, and we are all relating to each other as the divine beings interacting with other divine beings. This becomes kirtana. Kirtana, and this becomes this kirtana, sravana, manana. Everything goes on. These ideas, if we don't elaborate, then what happens? We become very, very fanatic. That in my congregation, with my faith of the divinity, when all are relating there, that is kirtana, not anywhere else. So here the kirtana has to be taken in the entire world, because he has already spoken of that. I am there everywhere, not only in that specific religious congregation, everywhere. So whenever we all try to relate to the divinity with that consciousness, then what happens? This world becomes a total different place, where everything becomes spiritual, nothing is secular. All conversations become this kirtana. Everything becomes bodhayanta parashparam. That keeping the divine in the mind, we are relating to each other. And that's the thing which has been spoken of in the 9th verse. So this kirtana, sravana, everything is included. It is something, it becomes a part of our life. We do not have to practice them separately. If we can bring the spiritual awareness in our life, this finds manifestation spontaneously, even through our congregational activities, through our interactional activities. Now, having described how his devotee worship him, now Sri Krishna will explain how he responds to their devotional activities in the next 2 verses. So just we will read out this verse. We will just take this explanation again in the next class. Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatang pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Those whose mind is always united with me and they worship me, satata yuktanam bhajatang pritipurvakam, with loving devotion, I bestow the yoga of understanding, buddhi yoga, by which they can attain me. In short, what is this buddhi yoga? Buddhi speaks of dhi. What actually here buddhi speaks of? The capacity to retain. We hear all these things. We go out of the class, we forget. Again, we lead our day-to-day life as usual. We say, oh, what a great relief, at least for 1 hour we are in the satsanga, and again, this world somehow baffles me. And to get rid of that, okay, this is good. So for us, at present, it is work and worship. These are 2 separate things. When I worship, my mind is calm, and again I have to go to my work, it disturbs me. Why it happens? Because the ideas which I was trying to, assimilate. I was trying to contemplate and assimilate, somehow I couldn't have assimilated. I forget when I'm interacting with the world. So what Buddhi Yoga speaks, God say, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, that I give them Buddhi Yoga. This Buddhi speaks of the capacity to retain that, the Dhi. You know that our most powerful mantra is the Gayatri mantra. That also actually is nothing but the prayer to the divine, that we can hold on to the knowledge in each and every step of our life. That what is this? Bhur bhuvasva tat savitur varenyam bharga devasya dhimahi. That give me the capacity to retain. As we find that when someone asks Swami Sharadananda for the first lecture that we were saying, Swami Vivekananda almost suddenly announced. Swami Sharadananda was already in Britain, in London. He was actually asked by Swami Vivekananda to come and join him, but somehow he was not having that sufficient courage to start preaching. So he will be along with Swamiji and attending Swamiji's classes. Swamiji asked him, whenever he asked him to give a lecture, he will say no. And so Swami Vivekananda one day felt that's not the way I can just make him start. So one day, when he was supposed to give his lecture, suddenly he announced Swami Sharadananda is going to give lecture. And he was not prepared. And he was feeling very much annoyed with Swamiji internally. That's what in his letter he said. But as it was announced, so he came. And it was a wonderful lecture. He was a person of very calm disposition. He managed the situation quite well, very nice lecture. And then he was going to take his seat, because after the lecture there was a question answer session, and everyone thought that others also thought, and Swami Sharadananda himself also thought that at least the question answer session Swamiji will take, and people also will want that he will take the. And then Swamiji again got up and said, no, today Swami Sharadananda will conduct the question answer session. So he was not prepared at all. And very interesting, the first question came, very simple question, but it's very difficult. What is life? What is life? Now Sharadananda, being a man of realization, thought a little and gave a very wonderful answer. That life is nothing but a chain of experiences. What a wonderful answer. Just see, any retrospective look at your life, you planned, things happened in its own way. As has been spoken of in the Imitation of Christ. Man proposes, God disposes, it happens. And what I have got through the life, only a chain of experiences. Good, bad, whatever it may be, and that's my life is. The questioner found a wonderful answer. Yeah, it's a wonderful answer. In one line, he has given life is nothing but a chain of experiences. And the very next question was, what is the aim of life? Sharadananda is not like Sri Ramakrishna saying just, Bhagavan love. Because he knew his audience is not prepared for that. To attain God is the aim of life. Nothing like that. His simple answer again, which was most appropriate for that audience there, to learn from those experiences. What a wonderful answer. We never learn. We go through the same experiences in our life. Again, we do the same mistake. In the words of Ramakrishna, like a camel, we thrive on the thorny bushes. We bleed. Still we go on thriving on the thorny bushes. We don't learn. When we can learn, if we can retain that memory. The experiences of life, the spiritual truth is there. My experience of the life is there. And now I know this way of life is not going to give me any happiness. The spiritual truth do appeal me. But I find I cannot keep my mind in that. My mind constantly vacillate. If I can keep it there, then my life would have been totally different. There would be an external struggle will be there, but internal resilience will be growing more and more, making me more calm, more stable, not reacting to the situations in life. Suffering comes from the reaction, not from the happenings. If 10% contributes from the happenings of life, 90% contributes the way we react. I have taken care of that. So, unless I have done that, there is no spirituality in me. And that's how, when it happens, when you have developed that capacity of dhi. I will just end the class with one example. When Sri Ramakrishna is the master of example. For the first time, he was taken to a studio for the photography. In the olden days, there's cameras. Now it looks so awkward, that huge camera with the lens and all, and they will have some cloth and for the exposure of the light, and you have to close it, and it was all mechanical. Now it is a flash. In those days it happened with the hand. And so the photographer was seeing all those things. Sri Ramakrishna was quite inquisitive. So he asked that how this photo is taken. Then the photographer explained that behind this lens there is a photographic plate, and it has been coated with silver nitrate. And how it helps? Just in an ordinary mirror, when your reflection falls, you move out of the mirror, you're no more in front of the mirror, your image is gone. But here, when we have coated with the silver nitrate, now when your image falls on it, you move out from it, your image is retained. Hearing that, Sri Ramakrishna, the master of example, immediately says, that's the Dhi. The man of realization has that capacity, to retain the thing. As here, what God is saying, Krishna is saying, Bhagavan is saying, the one who is constantly endeavoring to keep me in their awareness in all the acts of life with a worshipful attitude. It's not easy. With your effort, at last you will find it is almost impossible. And then the factor of grace comes. They say kripa means karo tabe pabe. Kripa. First do, then you get. So when you have endeavored and then that resignation came, oh God, it's not possible for me. Then God is saying, dadami, I give. I give the capacity to retain. You try, you will fail. With your human effort, it is not possible. It needs the super divine power. And then the grace factor comes. You resign, and then you find suddenly there is a change. It's not through your cumulative effect of your effort. Suddenly a transformation comes. And then you have to believe it is the grace. And then you find that you have been now established in that buddhi yoga. Your dhi has been established. From where it is came? Dadami. He has given it to you. Dadami buddhi yogantem yena mam upayanti. The one who is trying to endeavor, constantly trying to resign to me, I give him that buddhi yoga. So with this, we stop the discussion today. We will take on the next verse again in the next class. Thank you all. Namaskar.